How does a tank made for being a sniper end up being one of the best hyper-aggressive tank destroyers? Well, of course, it's down to its unbelievable accuracy, dirty penetration values, troll armor, and one of the best World of Tanks players I know, IYOUXIN.
Easy, man!
The first sense of aggression that we do have in today's video is, of course, on one of the more heavy-esque maps, which is Secret Line, and you would be very wondering why he's managed to actually push into the town on Secret Line. And this is actually on one of the games where he's attempting to get himself all the way up to 100% marks of excellence, which is a achievement in itself, but this is going to showcase how you can do it without even having to play that super passive role.
32, all you have to do is to snipe right into the gun mantler, guys.
He's exactly right with the sniping into the gun mantler on the T32. It's available on all of those T32 models. You can also do it with things like the Super Conqueror and the standard Conqueror in the game. It is their key weak point when you do have that super high penetration, especially with a tank destroyer like this, which prides itself on having just overpowered penetration anyway, and you can see him rinsing through the opponents right here.
And there is another thing about Super Conqueror. You can pen it right through the gun mantler, guys.
IYOUXIN has, of course, picked up 2,750 damage, which is really nice, super easy game. Of course, picking up a ton of damage on that T832, as well as some damage on the Super Conqueror. He's also commentating himself during the gameplay, and that's what makes the IYOUXIN streams really worth your while watching. So I'd highly recommend you go and check him out on stream if you haven't already. I'm sure most of you guys watching this video have probably seen either his videos or the stream or both. But you can see rinsing through opponents using the camo. You know, you don't have to always play this tank hyper aggressively, but when you do, you can do the damage early on in the game. You can get that 2,000 or 3,000 damage early on if everything goes kind of alright and you don't get hit by Artie. You can see IYOUXIN's got the hit marker on the back of his vehicle, obviously saying Artie should basically hit me here. You can see the first artillery round does indeed come in and steals a decent chunk of hit points away from him for not really doing anything wrong. Now you can see the double bush mechanic, perfect use of it, you know, pulling forward, using that bush and spotting the CC without getting spotted himself, and he absolutely rinses him out of the game.
Okay, the score is 1-4 and enemy will start feeling confident, and that's exactly what you want. There is no better way of doing a lot of damage other than shooting at the enemies that are coming towards you with this thing.
So IYOUXIN is completely right. You want to be pulling back slightly. You want to avoid being the frontline tank when the enemies are kind of making that push through, since, you know, there's not all of the cases where you want to be up close and personal to 5 or 6 tanks when they're pushing all at once. But when they do push all in one go, you can sit there and you can farm them as they push. And the STRV is probably one of the best tanks for doing that. Super easy shot on the Super Conqueror there, really nice lines of sight from this position. You get both the frontal area, the left, where they can push towards where the BZ is, and also you can get shots on people like the Panther II who might push on the right hand side. Now you do have to be wary of people like the FV4005 who've pushed up if you do get spotted and if you are trying to fire, but there are plenty of bushes in between the STRV and of course the teammates, which is really nice.
I don't understand. I do not understand. Am I the only one getting spotted?
Obviously, artillery making his presence known throughout this game, and in fact the only tank to really deal any damage. And yeah, you'll notice that if you ever decide to play the STRV line and pretty much any TD, is that usually Artie is the one to focus you and the one to steal all of those hit points that you've so graciously actually saved up during the game. Great choice from IYOUXIN, obviously deciding he's going to move back because you can use the bush at the back of the map and also take away the possibility of being spotted by the opponents because you are literally outside of the maximum view range, and of course then you get the bonus of having the camo from this bush. So it's a really nice spot. You can get blind fired, but at the same time really nice use of this, and of course later on in the video you'll see him move from this bush in the typical sniping position of an STRV to then push in and deal with the last remaining amount of damage required. If you guys are enjoying the video and you want to see more videos like this with loads of different content creators, then please do like the videos. It lets me know that you guys enjoy this content. And of course, it's really interesting to get in contact with some of these guys who are just absolutely the gods of the game. So IYOUXIN understands that there is, of course, a big threat on the left-hand side, as you would expect when the whole of the field is pretty much open to the opponent's attack, and when you're sat up on this ridgeline, they are the ones that are going to most likely spot you. You have bushes in front of you, as you can see, just a ton of them. Everyone knows about this on Secret Line, and it avoids you from actually getting spotted, but the left-hand side, limited on the amount of bushes, and so you get spotted far more easily. So for the keen-eyed of you, you'll have seen that there is, of course, 100% on the marks of excellence, so he managed to finally get that 100% marks, which is fantastic, but at this point the game isn't won and you want to get that win to follow that as well. Obviously, one of the biggest things for IYOUXIN at this moment in time is with the location of the FE 4005, and of course you don't want to be getting spotted in this location, since this light tank right here, the M41, is actually potentially going to spot him, and when you have the armor that the STRV has on the side, you can get basically overmatched and you're going to end up back in the garage pretty quickly. But he goes down into the dip, making it a lot harder for opponents to be able to hit him, and even makes it hard for the artillery, who usually ends up smashing this tank to bits. So the aggression really comes into play at this moment in time, and of course making his way towards the enemy cap circle, not to cap, don't worry, he's not that sort of player, and of course going towards the rest of the damage that is in the game. And when you're at this sort of marks of excellence percentage, that is really what you're kind of wanting, and you're trying to make the game as big as possible and of course come away with that win. Now they're down by 800 hit points, which is fairly substantial, but it's not the end of the world, and so hopefully he'll be able to come away with that victory, but let's just wait and see.
It's gonna be a big mistake, guys.
So the enemy team have no idea that the STRV has actually pushed up as far as he hasn't been spotted since he was in the base. They're going to be thinking that he's over there, and actually from being in this position you can surprise opponents and hopefully that FE 4005, since he is the biggest threat right now.
How sneaky, huh?
So IYOUXIN does the exact right thing here, doesn't decide to fire until he gets behind the bush, and fingers crossed doesn't get spotted for it, which is absolutely perfect. Probably going through the mind of IYOUXIN right now is that if the enemy team, or at least the Sprituk on the enemy team, has actually noted to the rest of his team that he was in that position, he wants to make sure to relocate, get to a better position, and then hopefully can come away with that victory. So finally the FE 4005 does indeed get spotted, and he loads up the standard round to be able to hopefully go through him. Now the FE 4005 has just fired, and it's time to capitalise with the tracking shot on the FE, and the fact that he is now going to have to reload is just not possible for him to out reload the STRV. So he shuts him down really quickly in a hurry going into the town, and now it's time to go after the Scorpion G and the WZ on the enemy team with just 30 seconds left. Is it possible to find out where they are, shut them down and come away with the victory? The WZ and Scorpion do both get spotted, and it's time to go in for the ultimate shot. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed this replay. There's one amazing one coming up, so stay tuned.
Easy, man.
And this is exactly why people love seeing IYOUXIN play World of Tanks, ramming for the final kill of the game, picking up that 100% marks of excellence. This next replay is going to showcase how even when you are overwhelmed in a tank like this, you can still play on the front foot and come away with a great result. Even if it's not the highest damage result you're going to see in this little clips, then yeah, still a very good one.
I don't have any mods for the reticle. The appearance of the reticle, so I'm afraid that we're just gonna get overwhelmed here, but I'm willing to try.
Straight away, IYOUXIN knows exactly about the overwhelming possibility that the enemy team are going to come on this flank, and that is exactly what's going to happen.
If I don't have to run, and I cannot be pushed that easily. That's a lot of things, guys.
Certainly is, and when you are in this tank, which has very, very good frontal armor when actually aiming towards the vehicle that you're looking at, but as soon as multiple tanks come all at once, then the STRV can kind of suck with the armor model, since you get penned in the side very easily, people can overmatch you, and that's not something that you want to see. It does have that heat shield on the front, but still kind of sucks, and it's at this point he decides, you know what, it's a kind of a lost flank at this point, and he decides to actually pull back. Perfect move, exactly what you should be doing in this game. You cannot win a 1 versus 6 or 7 when they all come at once, usually, unless it's an absolutely outrageous game. But yeah, exactly the play that you should be going with.
Okay, perhaps it's too many of them, guys. I don't have to run.
Of course, I love the awareness that IYOUXIN shows within his replays because of the fact that, you know, he understands when and when not to push, when to get away, and it's this movement and understanding of the game that changes him from being, you know, a very good player to an outstanding player and one of the best that I've seen. And why he, in the STRV 103B, obviously is very well suited for him.
Double track, easy peasy.
So you're seeing, of course, him pushing up to the bush and spotting. Now, most people know about the position of this bush and how important it is not to just YOLO through the open field to actually get in to spot these people, as you will most of the time never make it there before actually getting them spotted. And it's actually the position on the right where the lion is that is usually the position that spots people, as opposed to where the STRV 103B on the enemy team is. And especially when you're having to push up a slope where people can use their gun depression, yeah, pushing where the STRV 103 is the worst position possible for you guys to really effectively push, unless you YOLO strat, and there's so many of you that it's just overwhelming odds. So you're seeing him actually move in and out of the bushes, which is perfect and exactly what you want to be doing, taking the initiative to spot the opponents whilst also understanding that there are also vehicles like the Progetto 46 that are going to find you and your side armor and rinse you of the rest of your hit points if you do actually get spotted. So making sure that you pull back behind the bush in every single scenario and putting the bushes in the way in which that they can kind of maximize the coverage of your vehicle is exactly what you want to do.
You can shoot him 2 times.
So rather than sitting back and actually staying in that position now, the aggressiveness really comes out from IYOUXIN. He decides to press home the advantage. They are up by a ton of damage, and it's time to now get that rest of the damage left on the enemy team and come away with, of course, as much damage as possible, especially when going for marks of excellence, as you're seeing in the bottom of the screen. Now, Leopard 1 does catch him in the side, which is absolutely fine. He's got enough hit points to take a shell, but you don't want to leave it kind of guarded. But at the same time, you also want to get rid of some of the tanks that are going to aggressively push towards you. And so he lines himself up in siege mode, comes up on the ridge, takes another hit from the Leopard, but he lowers the hit points of this TNH low enough such that now he can turn towards the Leopard, and his teammates are going to help him out with that TNH in the form of the guard, firing straight into the back of him. Don't quite know what the TNH was trying to achieve there, but either way, good result.
He's either running or he's trying to go here.
Of course, that's exactly right. You want to make sure that you are predicting where the opponents are going to be, especially if you are going for marks of excellence, of course, which IYOUXIN is definitely doing. And when you are pushing that final percentages, you need to be on point with your prediction of what's going to happen and how you can maximize your damage in your games if you are that way inclined. And you can see here, sets up for the final potential shot he can get in the game against the Leopard with a nice little shell into the side of him. Of course, he knew that the Leopard had potentially gone for the kind of runaway strategy. Of course, he's never going to be able to win on such low hit points.
No! What? Alright. I mean, it was a good hold.
Yeah, that would be my reaction as well.
In the situations when enemy, like when you're losing the flank, you don't really have to run away because you can hold them. And like if you're winning, you just go together with your team and capitalize on that. Such an enjoyable thing.
On that note, I really want to say a huge thank you to IYOUXIN for getting in contact with me and letting me showcase some epic moments from his 100% Mark of Excellence stream. Really was awesome. We have plenty more replays that I'm able to share with you guys with the help of IYOUXIN, so if you guys would like to see that, then let me know what you think. And if you enjoyed this new video format, then also let me know, because I want to know your opinions. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more content like this coming soon. Thank you.
To shoot baboon, right? I was the FV that was dancing. I did not see you dancing, man. I did not see you dancing. You were sitting there aiming at me, man.